Let's go to Professor Seyed Marandi, not a part of the government, but chair of the American Studies at the University of Tehran, live in the back of a taxi from Tehran airport. Well, Professor, I'm very glad that you were able to make it, albeit from the back of a taxi, and we're already seeing the visual results of that. I hope the audio is better than the picture. You're very, very dark. But if you can hear me, would you kindly bring us up to date on what you know so far about the murder of Ismail Haniyeh, the very, very significant and important Palestinian leader, at dawn this morning in Tehran?
Well, as you know, I have just arrived, so I haven't been able to say anything really extraordinary.
I don't think this line. Yeah, go ahead. That's better. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that I don't think it is a major achievement for the Israeli regime to assassinate him, in the sense that gathering intelligence through the Americans, through the Europeans, for the Israelis is always possible. They're always being supported by Western powers, the Five Eyes, the U.S. Intelligence agencies provide Israel with the Israeli regime with all the intelligence that they need. It is, of course, a major setback for Iran, but Trump has been assassinated too, just recently, and whether it was a lone gunman or a conspiracy, he was assassinated, and he was almost killed. So I don't think that this is something unique to Iran. All of the Western embassies in Iran collaborate with the United States, and Western embassies in neighboring countries to Iran gather information about Iran. They're all working with the Israeli regime, just like they are helping the Israelis carry out the genocide in Gaza. We know that drones and other intelligence gathering equipment is used to help the Israelis in Gaza. What I can say is that,
but he was living in Doha, and they didn't assassinate him there. They chose to assassinate him in Iran. There must be a reason for that.
That's right. I think the reason for that is that there's no reason for them to assassinate him in Doha. Doha is closely linked to the United States. If the United States tells Qatar to expel Hamas, Qatar will do that. Just like Turkey. Turkey is not doing anything in particular to support the resistance, nor is any other country in the region. The only country that is actively supporting the resistance, of course, alongside Yemen and Lebanon and Syria and Iraq, which we all know, the only country that's supporting the resistance is Iran, and Iran has been paying the price for decades. So I think it's obvious why, if he is going to be assassinated, he would be assassinated in Iran, because the Israeli regime feels that Iran is its top antagonist.
Well, yes, that's my point, that the attack was on Iran, really, rather than on Ismail Haniyeh.
Yes, well, I would say both, because Ismail Haniyeh was a hero, a martyr for the Palestinian cause. The Israelis, over the last 9-10 months, they have effectively wiped out his extended family, his children, his grandchildren, and that's because that's what the Israeli regime does. They target families, just like they allow their soldiers to rape men, just like they slaughter children day and night. That is how they behave. They bomb families in their homes because those families are related or linked to a particular person. So they carry out collective punishment, just as they're carrying out collective punishment against the whole of the Palestinian population by starving them, by destroying their all of their infrastructure, their ability to drink clean water, their ability to access food and medicine. And this, of course, is being done with full Western support. The West pretends at times that they're opposed to this, but they're facilitating this. They haven't sanctioned the regime. They are constantly sending in supplies so that the Israelis could continue with this Holocaust. But in any case, Ismail Haniyeh was a martyr for the Palestinian cause. But I think the reason, as you pointed out, for him to be murdered in Tehran was because it is Iran that is an adversary to the ethno-supremacist regime. Qatar or Turkey or the UAE or Saudi Arabia, some of them are openly friendly with the Israeli regime even today. Some of them pretend to be critical but continue to have trade and business or continue to allow oil to flow through their country. So there's no reason why the Israelis would target Haniyeh, the martyr Ismail Haniyeh, in any of those countries.
Now, the Supreme Leader has rightly stated that Iran will now have to take action, you might say high-value action, because of the high value of the crime that took place. I've seen all kinds of statements that if you have slaughtered a guest in our home, nothing in the Islamic culture could be more serious than that. I've no doubt, and I saw that the National Security Council was meeting in the home of the Supreme Leader today, within hours of the event. When can we expect, and what can we expect as a response from Iran? By which I mean this: Israel obviously carried out the crime, but Iran's view is that this crime could not have been carried out but without the permission and the collaboration of the United States. Does that mean that the response could come on Israel, on Israeli interests abroad, on American interests abroad? What do you think it means?
I don't know if the Americans were directly involved, but there's no doubt that the Israeli regime uses American intelligence and European intelligence. And as I said, European embassies in Iran, they've always been active in gathering intelligence against Iran and to help the United States. I think that there will be a direct response, and I think it will be a very painful response. And I think the Israeli regime will regret carrying out the attack. Now, one may ask, then why did they do it? And I think that we have to make a distinction between the interests of the regime and the interests of the people who are running the state, the government, the regime itself. Netanyahu and the people around him have their own interests, selfish interests, ideological interests, but the regime itself has lost the war. It is lost on the Lebanese border. After 10 months, it has gained nothing. It is lost in the Red Sea. The Americans have been unable to do anything for them. It is lost in Gaza. They've been unable to take this dot on the map. Slaughtering innocent people, killing a few commanders here and there doesn't change the reality on the ground that the Israeli regime is it's unable to win the war. It has lost the confidence of business leaders across the world. No one is going to invest in Israel in future. It's a small, puny, vulnerable regime, and everyone sees it for what it is. It is no longer seen as this invincible country or state that has fantastic intelligence gathering capabilities, and that its technology is second to none. It has shown how deeply vulnerable it is, and I think that it is rapidly on the decline. So any escalation is only going to make this worse. It may serve Netanyahu's purposes, but it definitely is not going to serve the purposes of the regime itself. The regime is in a dead end. The longer the war lasts, the worse it is for the regime. It only deepens and strengthens global hostility towards the regime because of the genocide. And in addition to that, an escalation will only humiliate the regime further. So again, I think that we have to make a distinction between the interests of the Netanyahus in Israel, who may think that they've achieved something by murdering a person or by killing women and children, but the regime itself is being delegitimized. It is seen as weak and vulnerable, and any expansion of the war is only going to make it look worse. When the Iranians strike the Israelis, they will be seen as vulnerable. And no matter how the Western is going to make things worse for the regime.
Finally, and I'm grateful to you taking these extraordinary steps to talk to us at all from the back of a taxi having just arrived from Tehran. It's confirmed that the senior Hezbollah leader, Fuad Shukr, was one of the fatalities in the terrorist attack on an apartment block in the Dahia in the southern part of Beirut. But there are also reports of another Iranian general of the IRGC also being assassinated in Lebanon today. Are you able to shed any light on either or both of those cases?
I don't have any information about an Iranian general, because I've just returned, as you know, from Venezuela, and I was an observer for the election, and that is a fascinating story in itself. What the United States is trying to do in Venezuela, it reminds me of what they tried to do in Iran in 2009. But in any case, I don't have any information on that. What I can say is that it's not going to make a difference, even if they have assassinated an Iranian general, which I can't confirm. But even if they murder the leaders of the resistance, even if they murder the leaders of Iran, it's not going to make a difference. These are organizations, these are countries, these are people and groups that have, each of them have many thousands of people who are capable and quite willing to carry on with the struggle and replace the martyrs. And we've experienced this for over 40 years now. Hezbollah has experienced this. Hamas, Ansarullah, or the Houthis, as the West likes to call them, Iran. It's not going to make a difference. What is important is that the world has changed. The Israeli regime has been exposed to the world as a genocidal, evil ethno-supremacist regime. Everyone now across the world knows what it is. Even in the West, despite the Western media, despite the desperate attempts to justify what the regime does, people are waking up. On the other hand, the regime has been exposed as weak and vulnerable after 10 months and of slaughter and genocide and murdering combatants. Where is the Israeli regime today? It's fighting a war on the border with Lebanon with zero progress. It is fighting in Gaza with zero progress, and the Americans are fighting on its behalf in the Red Sea with zero progress. And that will continue. If it doesn't get worse, it's definitely not going to get any better for the regime. And a regime like Israel, if it cannot defeat Hamas after 10 months, if it cannot defeat Hezbollah after 10 months, then I think the world will conclude that this regime simply cannot last.
Professor Marandi, as always, thank you very much for joining us on the Mother of All Talk Shows.